So I wanted to ask if I could share a little bit about how Brother to Brother got started, and if there was resistance in forming a black LGBT organization.
Wow. All I remember is when I first moved back to Portland from the Bay Area. Once again, it was Cliff and a number of other black men here that I didn't know, who basically just wanted to get together. And I think in the beginning the idea of Brother to Brother wasn't even that it was meant to be so political. It just really turned out that we gained such a reputation in Portland that when certain things would even happen within the media, the group would be called on, or even if we weren't called on, we would know that we would want to make a presence there to come in on things as a group. But and I think there was a model for Brother to Brother, at least in some other cities around the country. It's almost like it was loosely, it was an organization that was nationwide, at least in a couple of major cities. But there was no official affiliation with other groups. But yeah, I just don't feel like in the beginning there was a very strong political reason to get together. I still think that it was born out of wanting that support.
It was that, for me, it was just sort of like the stars were all aligned at the right part. Because it was that stuff nationwide, some political stuff you refer to, but also cultural stuff, the poets and the writers. And I remember for me, when I first saw, what was the name of the book? Joseph Beam's anthology, wasn't Brother to Brother, or In the Life, or something like it, which is an anthology of black...
In the Life, I think that's...
In the Life of black writers. And one thing that I think Joseph Beam wrote in that first volume was, black men loving black men is a revolutionary act. And that's what I thought was, for me, was the essence of that time when all these diverse men were coming together and maybe not making an overt political statement, but by just coming together, making a statement that, and I appreciate saving our sanity, very, very important.
That's really true. That was really a period where, in my estimation, I actually thought of the early 90s as being this Renaissance period. Because you're right, there was the Joseph Beam book, there was Marlon Riggs' film, Tongues Untied. There really was, it felt like it was almost like this short-lived period of celebration of black male culture. And mainly it was cut short, I would say, because of the AIDS epidemic, because so many of the men that I think was a really big part of really sharing our experiences, not only with the gay community, but with the African American community. So you're really right. I think it was a really more personal way to share what was really being done in the media, what was coming about in the media about black gay men. And there were so many unsung heroes during that time, and once again, it was really because of the epidemic.
One of the things I remember is the lesbians coming to the aid of some of the men who were HIV and needed the help. I think that was the first time I saw and felt that color didn't matter. It was about taking care of the person. I remember my sister, they were doing shifts. They were, just all kind of humanitarian stuff. You just didn't think. Color left. It just, I mean, it was good to see.
And that's how lesbians were organized within the lesbian community more than in the gay community. Because before and after, they still take care of it. If you find somebody who's sick, their friends pick it up. Okay, let's get the food thing arranged. You drop it off on Wednesday, I'll drop it off on Friday. Okay, who's going to clean the house? And somebody will pick up some aspect of most of it. I just got a note from somebody who needs help with preparing meals. So that was a part of what was, to me, and it feels lost right now, it feels, there was this strong lesbian voice and community. There was a women's bookstore. There was a women's center. There were at least one women's bar alive at all times. There was the Take Back the Night March. There was the Rape Relief Hotline, is what we called the one that started out, and we changed it. There were all these institutions that would be put together by women. There was a women's newspaper. It was called...
Ragtime.
No, not Ragtime, but that was one. There was another. The one I'm thinking of was a woman's name. And they did it on the 3rd floor of the center over on Everett, and it was hotter than hell up there, and they laid that paper out, and they'd be sweating and working. Melanie Kay Kantorowicz was a part of that newspaper. Ragtime was one, but this was another one. But there were all these things going. There was a women's, was it, not savings and loan, but like a credit union. There was a women's credit union. That's when Kay and Jean DeMaster started what was TAX, that now is the Oregon
Nonprofit.
Yeah. These were started by women. And many of those institutions have just simply been melded into something else. Okay? I mean, I go to the bookstore up on Broadway to 7th Street because 2 women on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know. So that presence I don't know if we've been absorbed, but the consciousness and the strength doesn't seem to be there. And you could be part of that. You would encounter, as a black person, you would encounter somebody who was scared of you or rude to you or whatever, but you could still be part of that if you could handle that, if you could stand it. And what I decided personally was, I belong anywhere I want to go.